weekend here at Muscle in the Morning, and I'm Dave Palumbo, and today is Friday, August 31st, 2018. And let's find out what's going on in the world of bodybuilding and fitness. If you've never seen Chopped Jr., where these 11-year-old chefs have to cook with insane ingredients under pressure right before they get their self-esteem crushed by a panel of judges on national TV, well, then you don't know what you're missing. And I know it's only his second year on the pro circuit, but Regan Grimes seems like he's pretty good at getting the recipe right when the judges are watching. The sophomore sensation is looking like a man on a mission with less than 2 weeks to go before the big day, where I know more than a few people think he's a lock to be a top 5 finisher. There's no denying that this kid has all the tools to be one of the top pros in the division for the next decade. But with this being his first real test in a show of this caliber, it'll be interesting to see what he brings to the party once the festivities get started. Almost 80 years ago today, Dale Carnegie wrote an American classic when he published How to Win Friends and Influence People. But in case you don't have time to read the whole thing, let me give you the Cliff Note rendition. All you have to do is step outside shirtless, looking like Danny Hester. The first ever Classic Physique Olympia champ looked as good as we ever seen him all year long at a guest posing event last weekend, where he gave a lucky few fans a sneak peek at his pre-Olympia look. When I think of consummate professionals in the Classic Physique division, Danny Hester is always the first guy who comes to mind. So if I were one of these young guys in the division, I would get out my pen and start taking notes, because you'd be hard-pressed to find a better role model in the division than a guy like Danny Hester. 9 times out of 10, if you get caught up in one of those 3 a.m. internet deep dives, it's probably going to end with your wife or girlfriend directing some 4-letter sentence enhancers your way. But if you're as impressed with figure standout Jessica Reyes Padilla as I am, then that ear beating you're about to take is definitely worth the price of admission. Earlier this week, we had a chance to get our hands on some vintage JRP footage that shows the Puerto Rican phenomenon hammering out a few late hours at the office. When you look at how incredible she was from start to finish this year, it isn't hard to see why she's considered to be one of the most exciting talents in the division. And it doesn't take a major stretch of the imagination to see her being one of the early favorites to win a show like the Arnold if she decides to throw her name into the mix in 2019. To quote the great P.T. Barnum, comfort is the enemy of progress. And when you're the reigning and defending figure Olympia champ like Sidney Gillen, I'm pretty sure you know all too well who your enemies are. And with less than 2 weeks to go before she puts her title on the line for the first time, the word coming out of Team Gillen is that they're armored up and ready to do battle against what might be, from a numbers standpoint, one of the biggest figure Olympia lineups of all time. And there are very few people in history of the division who've ever had the Sidney Gillen level of talent. So if she brings her A game to Vegas, I think it'll be a pretty tall order for anyone to come in there and knock her off her throne. Sometimes when you're committed to being the best you can be at something, your entire work-life balance can be way out of proportion. That's why it always makes me feel good to see guys like Sas Heirati taking some time to enjoy life in the off-season. This week we saw a new update from the third-year pro who seems to be loving life and sitting pretty at a lean, mean 240 pounds. Hopefully when he sits down to look back at his season, Sas sees what I saw, an athlete that made huge improvements from show to show, and who really solidified himself as one of the most complete young pros in the division. So hopefully now that he's taken some time off to recharge the batteries, we'll see a fully loaded Sas Heirati ready to hit the ground running for his 2019 campaign. And that does it for yet another edition of Muscle in the Morning. I'm Dave Palumbo, reminding you to always be true to your passions. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.